Also great to have the company, as always, on a Thursday. Philip Ingram, MBE, former Senior Military Intelligence Officer. Thank you, as always, for joining us.
My pleasure.
Lots to talk about today. More on Rachel Reeves. Has she broken the law by renting out her family home without a licence since she became Chancellor? Yes, she has. But should she have to resign over it? We'll talk about that. Plus, should she have to resign over breaching, as we're told she is planning to do? And it's pretty clear from the Prime Minister's answers at PMQs yesterday, refusing to back up those manifesto pledges on tax rises. If she considers a rise in income tax at next month's budget, should she have to go as well? How do we hold our Chancellor of the Exchequer accountable? Plus, the jailing of a failed asylum seeker for randomly murdering a restaurant owner is only the latest serious crime committed by an illegal migrant, hitting the headlines in recent days. Anger over the Ethiopian migrant, the Epping migrant who's been taken back to Ethiopia, but we paid him an extra 500 quid to get him on the plane without him causing a fuss. And I think people, frankly, are just saying we have had enough. Plus, we're going to talk about Boris Johnson. He's become the fourth former Conservative Prime Minister to criticise Kemi Badenoch for her very sensible vow to repeal the Climate Change Act and scrap her commitment to reach net zero by 2050. Boris, though, warned the Tories they will not win the next election by bashing the Green agenda. Boris Johnson, you're so wrong about so many things. I mean, genuinely, utterly deluded on this issue. But there we are. Go and have another party and eat some cake. No one cares. But I'd love to hear from you on all the topics we're talking about. But in particular, Tory leader Kemi Badenoch says Rachel Reeves must resign if she raises income tax, national insurance or VAT at the budget. Clear, in black and white manifesto commitment, should she have to go? Well, the Conservatives also say she should go simply over failing to legally rent out her family home when she moved into the flat at in number 10 Dowding Street when she became Chancellor because she didn't get the appropriate licence for doing so in her area. What's your reaction to that? What do you think? Do you agree? Should she have to go? If so, why? If not, why? Give us a call. 0344 499 1000 is the number. Text the word talk and your message to 87222. Get in touch with us on X at TalkTV. All together now. Calls are charged at the national rate. Text costs one standard network rate. Message. Philip Ingram, simple question. Should Rachel Reeves have to go? And if so, why?
Yes.
There we are. Thank you very much. We're going to break.
Well, for a number of reasons. You know, if you make one mistake, it can be put down to carelessness. Her CV. Then we've got fiscal policy and talking about tax rises, and she said it wasn't going to happen. There's another mistake, because there'll be some form of tax rise. Tick. Yeah. 2. Oh, and now, you know, her... And we have to remember that her husband isn't someone who doesn't understand rules and regulations, because he's a second permanent secretary in DEFRA. Between the two of them, they seem to have missed the fact that the rules in the house that they own, that they're renting out, which is not in the constituency that she represents, but she campaigned in that constituency for these very rental licences to be brought in, that they somehow or other didn't realise or didn't ask that they needed it.
As I pointed out earlier, you pointed this out to us. I mean, not only, again, Rachel, you need to do detail, especially if you can't remember where you worked. I mean, we shouldn't have too many hopes. Were you an economist? For how long? For which companies? Bank of England, etc. She's a bit muddly when it comes to detail. We know that. But you pointed out, look, she's broken the housing law. And again, I wouldn't have thought that there was such a rule that if you live in certain areas that you have to get a licence to rent out your home. She's gone to a lettings agency. Hello, can you rent out my 4-bed home? 3,200 a month last year. She apparently since September, that's what she's been getting. 38 grand a year, guys. So that's about the average salary in this country, certainly in London, right? So for full-time workers, 38 grand, and that's just getting in rental money. But she found she needed to obtain this rental licence because of the area she lived in. In Southwark, local authority require that private landlords in certain areas obtain a selective licence to rent out their property. She said she was unaware of it. She's applied for the licence now. The bill broke. She wrote to the Prime Minister about it. She referred herself to the standards, investigator. Prime Minister's basically written back within minutes going, no, it's all fine. I accept your apology. He's dismissed calls for investigation and said he was happy the matter could be drawn to a close after consulting his independent ethics advisor, who decided not to launch an investigation. I mean, the Tories aren't happy with that. But here's the thing, as you pointed out, a long time ago, 10 days ago, Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, on the account, not the Rachel Reeves account on X, but the Rachel Reeves account for Leeds, written by her team, in her constituency, that's who will be writing these tweets. She wrote the following: I welcome Leeds City Council's decision to expand their selective landlord licensing policy to include the Armley area. While many private landlords operate in the right way, we know that lots of private tenants in Armley face problems with poorly maintained housing. This scheme means private landlords in the area will be required by law to obtain a licence for any residential property they are seeking to let and must meet certain standards to ensure the property is safe and in a decent state of repair. Now, it is not feasible that this woman can claim she didn't know anything about these selective licences, because she had campaigned for them in Leeds, in the area where she is an MP. Her team had written about this in her name, and yet didn't occur to her. I wonder if, gosh, shouldn't I double check if that's...
double check if it applies to me?
I think the lettings agency were at fault for not doing it, but then they'll have clauses saying you are responsible for any legal requirements. It's the same as, when you sell your home or buy your home, you're responsible for everything. I mean, and as you say, her husband works in DEFRA. That's all they do is regulation. Yes. This woman's just not very good at detail.
She's not very good at detail, which is why there were questions over some of the claims that she put in when she worked for one of the banks, and she had her parliamentary credit card removed for a period of time. She's not very good at many things.
Certainly not being Chancellor.
And to be in a position of Chancellor, we have to have someone who is giving confidence to the City of London and to other financial institutions around the world. She has not got that foundation to build confidence on.
She has no credibility just based on her own experience, but also even her manner, her demeanour. I mean, they're sitting there in tears the other month as next to the Prime Minister at PMQs. I don't care what personal things have happened. I mean, God, I've gone on air after miscarriages and things, and I'm sorry. I know people who've gone on air and after their mother has died, and things. I mean, you either don't appear or front it out.
Or you front it out.
Front it out, like a lot, like most people actually have to do in their workplaces every single day. Actually,
exactly.
when things are going wrong at home. She's just not got any credibility. She will certainly have none if she does go ahead with what we are hearing maybe in the budget. Now, we can't trust any of the kites being flown right now. Justin Urquhart Stewart said, look, don't trust anything. These are Treasury sources saying, oh, we're going to do this, going to do that. A lot of that is about testing the ground. How do people react? And the other thing is also about is basically, oh, God, we're all expecting the budget to be absolutely awful in 4 weeks' time. And then when it's not, it's only a bit awful, not absolutely awful.
Everyone goes,
we'll all go,
wow,
thank goodness. I mean, what a great way of running a country, right?
It's a standard tactic, and not just Rachel Reeves, but every Chancellor beforehand has tried that sort of thing. Make it sound really, really bad, and then come in as at less bad.
But 2p on income tax. Look, a lot of people are saying, well, taxes have to go up. People over there, the rich people, well, there aren't enough rich people and they'll leave the country. So, and all anyone sensible is saying, if you want to seriously raise money, cut the debt, and not have to do massive public spending cuts. And the Prime Minister said there'll be no austerity. At the end of the day, austerity, like just not having a million young people on the dole. I mean, that's not austerity, that's just common sense. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to raise taxes on everyone.
Yeah, but again, that'll happen as well, because the one thing that has been missed under the headlines with the 2p sensational headline that gets the front pages and the sub-editors loving it, is the fact that there's also talk about not increasing the tax thresholds. So automatically that's going to bring other people into tax.
People on really quite average jobs paying the higher rate, not the highest, but the higher rate of tax, 40% on the extra income they earn. So you get a promotion and you get a pay rise. Which to deal with the fact that you're dealing with inflation, you still have got the hangover of the 11% inflation from a few years ago. You get a pay rise. Well, actually, you're only seeing about half.
But it's not just the 40%. It's the lower end tax rate, because that's going to bring people potentially on minimum wage into that. It's going to bring pensioners on pensions into that, so they're going to start paying tax and everything else. And that's where it's going to hit the lower paid people much harder than
people
another
who
penny.
are really just getting by. They really are working full time, maybe doing some extra hours actually, and just getting by and being hit again and again, and inflation's still going up, mortgages, rent's still high. Again, I don't know how much longer people can cope with it, and it is fascinating, is it not, that given the economic woes we're in and all the polling showing how negative and pessimistic people are about the future economically, that actually the migrant issue is still top of the list. Have we almost we just accepted the fact that we're just going to be in economic doldrums for the next 10 years?
I saw a very sad poll this morning that put the popularity of the Labour Party and what's going on at 1% below Prince Andrew.
Wow. Wow,
that puts it into context.
Yeah, I
don't think it was a particularly competent polling
1% of the
organisation.
Greens was pretty bad. Very interesting, actually. I was at an event last night, the Spectator magazine's Parliamentary of the Year Awards, and I had to accept an award on behalf of a politician because they didn't turn up. And Michael Gove, the editor of Spectator, I think was having a little bit of fun, because guess whose award I had to accept? Zach Polanski, the Green Party leader. Also,
well, of course, you're a closet member of the Green Party.
Obviously, I'm a massive Net Zero fan, but also, of course, he is the man who works as a hypnotherapist in Harley Street, hypnotising women into enhancing the size of their breasts. So maybe there were different reasons why I was chosen. I don't know. I may have touched on this in my thank you speech, but I did leave the award at the ceremony. So Zach Polanski, if you're watching, and I'm sure you're an avid listener to the show, Michael Gove's got your award, not me. He clearly didn't want it. But it was very interesting last night because Nigel Farage won, Politician of the Year. I mean, he was obviously going to win something, of course. But there was quite a lot of bitterness. I mean, he was not a happy man. I was sitting very, very close to him. Not a happy man with all the Conservatives things. Basically saying, we're going to win. And he went up on stage and he said, I've been told to be gracious, but you lot are all on. We're going to win. And the polls do seem to suggest this.
They do seem to suggest it. Now, we're a long time away from the general election. And at the moment, Nigel Farage can get away with soundbite statements. If he follows Labour's plan, he can continue that the whole way through. But people are going to start to hold reform to account much more. And he's going to have to get some more detail. And big things that are happening around the world. He doesn't even have a defence spokesman.
No, they're going to have detail. I mean, they're starting that obviously with some of their new MPs and things like that. But you mentioned Prince Andrew and unpopularity. It's just emerged in the last 20 minutes or so that Prince Andrew could face a private prosecution over allegations of sex assault, corruption and misconduct in public office arising from the Virginia Giuffre scandal. This is the campaign group Republic, headed by Graham Smith. And he's basically, they're going to take the unprecedented step of instructing a law firm to investigate and, if necessary, commence law proceedings against the disgraced royal, looking into claims that he passed. And again, these were claims in documents coming out from America, in email from Prince Andrew to senior staff in Buckingham Palace, saying he'd asked his security officer, paid for by us, to look into Virginia Giuffre, gave her social security number. I mean, information he should never had access to, given to him clearly by Jeffrey Epstein, convicted paedophile, and asking him to dig up dirt on her. I mean, asking a police officer to commit a criminal act. I mean, really? That looked looking very questionable. There's lots of question marks about his income. Where is all the money coming from that funds this lifestyle he leads? Big question marks about what he knew when of Epstein's proclivity for basically, let's call it what it is. Raping young teenage girls. That's what he was. And Graham Smith, the chief executive of the campaign group, if not us, then who? It's a devastating indictment on the UK's criminal justice system, police and politicians, not to mention the king and heir, that we must resort to a private prosecution.
But we also have to remember, your Royal Protection Officers are exceptionally well trained and trusted police officers. Yeah. And yes, principals will come along and ask advice of those that are there to protect them. But as a professional police officer, they'll turn around and say, "Sorry, boss, no."
Then certainly you would expect that information to be passed on to a senior officer to I can't say no to Prince Andrew because I imagine he's not someone you can say no to, but can you tell him I can't do that?
No, his own close protection team, and I know a lot of people will be in there. The individual officers will have been robust enough to turn around and say, "Sorry, boss, no," straight. And knowing full well that if Prince Andrew tried to do what he always does, because he's not a very pleasant character, and blow it up, that the bosses would have covered him, and that officer would then very quickly go to the boss and say, "Look, just be aware.
Just so you know, this is what's happening."
I've said no to him. You know what he's like.
Well, we'll see the developments on that. Also, I mean, we've got to talk about all these huge spate of crimes we've got in just the last week. I mean, just in the last week, 4 particular big cases that have come to light involving migrants and crime, and Afghan Afghan refugee charged yesterday with a triple stabbing in Uxbridge, remanded in custody in court in the last few minutes after killing the dog walker Wayne Broadhurst. A bin man just walking by trying to help a man and his 14-year-old son who were being attacked allegedly by this Afghan refugee. We've got a Somali, a failed asylum seeker. He was jailed yesterday for a minimum of 25 years for stabbing in a completely unprovoked attack, a father of 3 to death in a bank, having lost his asylum claim. Last Friday, we had a Channel migrant found guilty of the unprovoked murder of Rhiannon White, a mother who worked at the asylum hotel. And last Friday also, of course, we had the Epping migrant, the sex attacker who was accidentally freed from Chelmsford prison, 2-day manhunt, and then he was deported. And now we found out yesterday 500 quid was given to him to basically stay quiet, stop causing a fuss and get on the plane. I mean, that's just in the last week. Just in the last week.
Every day we're hearing of something new. And, you know, I've been in some nasty places around the world. When I go past hotels close to where I live, where there are asylum seekers in them, or see the groups of them out around the local shopping centres and stuff, you know, I feel nervous. I get twitchy. You know, the hairs on the back of my neck stand out, and you know, you start to get alert, and I start to feel as if you're back in an unsafe operational environment again.
And is that sort of something about the demeanour? Is it, you know, these young men are the fact that they're in a group? The young men,
they're in groups. They tend to be wearing hoodies, and it tends to all be black a lot of the time. The clothing that they're wearing, you know, they seem to be well dressed. They don't seem to be behaving, you know, in the way that everyone else is behaving, and they stand out, and it's just it creates nervousness.
Your little spidey, spidey instincts as a former senior military intelligence officer says this isn't right. This
isn't right. It doesn't fit in. What could be happening here now? 99.99% of the time, nothing's happening. But it just doesn't fit in with everything else that's going on. We should not be accepting these people into our society until they've been properly processed, properly vetted, and we know where they're from. And most should not pass any normal vetting. They should be sent back to where they came from. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where everyone is right now. Can we just ask also about what's been going on in South Korea? Whistle-stop tour of Southeast Asia by the US president. I mean, I can tell you what, though. His age was early 80s now, isn't he? I mean, that man has got the energy of a 25-year-old. In fact, more energy than most 25-year-olds you meet. Perhaps quite extraordinary. But he met, obviously, lots of different leaders with lots of deals done, South Korea trade deal, and things that we perhaps expected were going to be on the cards after his trade tariff war. But he also met with the Chinese President Xi Jinping at the airport on the way out. He gave the meeting a 12 out of 10. When they stood side by side for the cameras, Trump did all the talking. Xi Jinping, I mean, there was the body language. I saw the whole thing. Oh.
What do you make of this, and what do you make of what may or may not come out of it?
Well, you know, obviously anything that comes out of it's being done by the diplomats in the background, so it's not between those two. But the body language that there was when Trump was standing there, and Xi deliberately made Trump stand there by himself, and you could see Trump getting nervous, and then when he came in, Trump was trying to be all bonhomie and pat him on the back and everything else, and was saying positive things, and Xi Jinping wasn't even looking at him. He was just
But you've got Trump. You've got one president who absolutely loves, free flowing, bit of banter, just talking. I mean, just again, just free flowing on everything, on major policy issues. And then you've got someone who is absolutely, he sticks to his.
But he was turning his back on him. He was not talking to him. He was talking to his interpreter, someone else. When you look at things from a cultural perspective, and you go to culture in Southeast Asia and you're doing business, it's all very respectful. There was zero respect being shown by Xi Jinping to Donald Trump.
And actually, a lot of those cultural niceties are absolutely
critical. They're absolutely critical, and it's the sort of thing that sets the tone for everything that's going on.
Very interesting.
So 12 out of 10. No. It was not even 1 out of 10.
Very interesting. Interesting to hear that. Thank you very much indeed.